Greetings to Jim Moody, all the members of the family and friends who are present. How I had hoped and planned to be there with you. From the time that Sandra, my daughter, got the call that there was going to be a surprise retirement party, I began making plans to come, and Sandra made plans to bring me. But we have a court case here that is very, very consuming, and I really did not want anybody else to bring me, and Sandra had to be here. And my precious pet, who is also my counselor, advised me that I should be here with Sandra to give her support and, if necessary, counsel regarding this court case. That's why I'm not there with you. This is a very special day and time for me, because I wanted to be with James Moody, Pat Moody, and family. Jim, you know it. You're one of the dearest friends that Arnold and I've ever had. You and Pat are two of the dearest, the most loyal, loving, and caring friends we've ever had. And this goes way, way back. I think about the 1970s. Jim, when you were courting Pat, we have a saying in our community: the Lord is my shepherd, and I see what I want. And I think that's what happened when you saw Patricia LaHuta. The Lord is my shepherd, and I see what I want. And you went after Pat. And it worked. You got married, beautiful wedding, and Arnold and I were there. As time went on, it was, I think, well, Christopher was conceived. And Jim, you did not want your wife and the mother of your children to be a working mother. And so Pat came to me and explained that she was going to have to resign because Jim didn't want her to work. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? Pat was my secretary at the Cleveland Board of Education. And she was a trusted and excellent secretary. And I had to have a trusted secretary because my administrative job meant that I had to relate to successfully all of the different ethnic groups in Cleveland who had children in our school system. Large number of Poles, Polish Americans, Italian Americans, Ukrainian Americans, Native Indian Americans, Black, everything. And of course we had a little war going on within Cleveland among the various groups. So that I had to have a secretary who was trustworthy. And that lady took care of my business and took care of my silence. She was trustworthy, and I cared more about her than a secretary, employer. The relationship, I felt, was different. After Pat's retirement, Arnold and I got to know Jim better, and little Christopher, and I didn't lose a secretary. I gained friends, Jim and Pat, and with the birth of each child, we grew closer. We formed a very deep bond. It was extraordinary. And I'm reminded that the years have gone so quickly. It doesn't seem possible to me at my almost 92 years that Jim, young, vibrant, and Pat, young, vibrant, married, children, now grown, and Jim retiring. It's quite something to consume. But I have so much joy in remembering all of the things that we've done together, the times that we've shared at each other's homes, the children playing in the foyer, running trucks around in the house, and with them it was perfectly all right. Christopher and Jeffrey Scott, and then finally the little lady, Erin Lynn, joined, and Arnold and I just adore them, still do. I'm reminded of something very important that I want to share today. In 1997, Arnold and I were in a near fatal car accident, and we had to have a caregiver for Arnold. He was really never totally recovered. He had partial disability, I should say. But Pat and Jim were there for us. They were there to help in any way that they could, and they were there often. And they would come and bring members of the family. And I must say, Jeffrey Scott would just appear. I didn't know he was coming, but Jeffrey Scott would appear and became so close and so dear. In thinking of this, I want to share something that I think we all need to be cognizant of. Arnold's caregiver was an excellent caregiver for him. She was responsible, she took care of him, she cared about him. I think she grew to love Arnold like a father. But she had been reared by parents who grew up in Georgia, and they were accustomed to being segregated and discriminated against because they were black. And they frankly did not like white folks. And this was passed on to their daughter. And of course, that's the way racism spreads. This lady was so full of it. And with Pat and Moody family so close to us. They really became more than friends. The Jim Moody's were family. And I would counsel her, and that, of course, was a part of my job as a teacher and a supervisor and finally assistant superintendent of the Cleveland school system. I was supposed to be an expert in working with race relations. Well, I had a problem at home with this caregiver, and I would share things with her. I reminded her once that Dr. Martin Luther King told the Americans and the world that racism was foolish. He said it is not the color of the skin, it's the content of the character that makes a man or a woman worthwhile. Not the color of the skin, but the content of the character. And I drilled this into this woman. Every time she would say something racist, I would remind her of Dr. King's saying. I shared other things with her, and finally I got tired. And one day, Counselor Conella said, "Woman, you're 30 years old. You should know by now that everything black ain't your friend, and everything white ain't your enemy." Did you meet the Moody's? Do you see the people who are in their second home here? And we the same when we go to their home? We're family. It ain't about them white and we're black. We're friends. It's the content of the character. It ain't the color of the skin. And you better learn it. You've got a long way to go. Finally, this woman came to me one day and said, "Mrs. Brown, I'm seeing what you told me. Mr. Brown is disabled. You're getting older with your chronic fatigue syndrome. And the Moody's are so loving and so loyal, and they're here. And a lot of the other folks who you would think would be here ain't." She said, "Mrs. Brown, thank you. Thank you." And I said, "Thank you, Lord. If I was able to affect one bigoted heart, I feel thankful." I had to share that because Jim Moody and Pat Moody have reared 3 lovely human beings, and they were reared to accept people based upon the content of their character, not on the color of their skin, and I commend you for it. It's just one of the many reasons that I love you so. Well, this is a party, and if I were there, I probably would not be saying all of this. I know I wouldn't, but I'm not there. And there's so many things that I feel. And you know, old folks tend to talk too much too. And I'm old folks now. I really like to call myself a seasoned citizen. But I'm old. And I'm talking too much and I'm talking too long. So I'm going to try to bring my remarks to a close by reminding Jim how happy I am that he has retired, how proud of I am, and I'm speaking for Uncle Arnold, how proud we were and are of his life. Hard-working man, always a job, always family first, always loving pet, always being a role model for his children. And that is reflected in Christopher, Jeffrey Scott, and Erin Lynn. They're good people. They're good, solid, productive citizens. And 3 people of whom Arnold and I are also proud. And now, Jim, I want to just say I'm sorry I'm not there. I want you to have a good time, and I want you to have a good retirement with health that holds up for you. You're precious to me. You're precious to me. Pat, you're my children. I love you so. And I appreciate all that you've been to Uncle Arnold and me for 40 years. And I'm going to say bye. And I'm looking for you sometime this fall. And we'll have a celebration here. And I hope we can get the McFadden brothers involved, who are professional entertainers. One plays saxophone, one plays trumpet. Both are professional tap dancers and singers. So if we get y'all here, we're going to have another party. And Sandra joins me in sending love. And Ronald remembers that you have told him and his wife to come and bring the children. So maybe one day that will happen. Until I see you soon, I love you. Aunt Conella.